All right, good evening, guys. Ken of Tortoise Capital, Nightly Strategy Podcast for May 25th, 2023. Quite a day. Thanks, NVIDIA. All right, we'll start with Alcoa, 30 minutes, the usual. So today, we got a collapsing dragon and scratched. No follow through. AI was an exit from our COTA 2 entry yesterday, which closed here, then gapped up to here, and sold off all the way down here before I finally had the presence of mind to cash it for 3. It generated a COTA 2. I took the entry as it crossed the dragon with price and with the standard risk. It's up about +1. I just had to get back in. I gave back way too much of that, though, in retrospect. Caterpillar, no trade. What it did, it closed the, we were short from yesterday, and then right at the open, it started cruising up, and I took the PSAR exit for +1. No further trades. Cliff, we entered, we exited the short and then took the PSAR flip, so the short cover here was 1, 2, 3, 4, +4, and then this one on the standard PSAR flip and standard risk is holding about +1. CVS, we covered the short for about 4. That was nice. Dish, just completely missed this short altogether. This was so we had 2 positions short, exited here yesterday. It closed right there. The gap up in Dish was to here, which would have been painful on the 2. Instead of gaining 4, we'd have been down to 6. So the power of gaps. But then I completely missed this short here on the fade the gap. But didn't want any part of that one today. Devon Energy. We tried the short early. So here was the gap. It was selling off, so we got short and got out of it with a scratch, and then it rolled over and took the collapsing dragon, and we're holding about 0.5 right now, standard risk, short overnight. And the reason to hold that one is we were well out of the Red River. And Electronic Arts took a half-hour loss on the gap down on yesterday's COTA 2, and then didn't have the will to try the long side. Emerging markets. So we had 2 positions short. Yesterday it closed here. Today it sold off a little further. So I added a 3rd position, and then that reversed up in here. So basically the 3rd position scratched, and that was enough for these other 2 to get out. And so that was 2, 3, 4, 5, +6 on the first one, +2 on the second one, so that's +8 and scratched. And I like the fact that this is rolling back up. This could definitely become an orderly recovery tomorrow, so we'll be watching all the big indexes for that. No trade on Ethereum. There was a COTA 2 or a SSC in there that I missed. Mexico initiated the COTA 2 at the edge of the dragon in the afternoon. No trade in Brazil. Intel, now this was the opposite of NVIDIA. This could just be because NVIDIA just murdered them. All right, so here was the gap down, and then it kept selling off. And when it moved a risk box away from the gap, we took the short, and then it was orderly for about 2 hours, and I took the exit here at the edge of the dragon for about +2. IP covered the short after putting the second position on the gap down. So we were short this one overnight. Gap down was here, continued to sell off, so added a second, bottomed out, exit at the edge of the dragon. This one was about 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 on that one, +1 on this one, so that's +6. Those add up. IYR tried the short, exited the entire position. We were still short one from this one yesterday, because we had 3 positions short and then exited 2, so we're still net 1 short. It started failing again, and so we're all out here, and then started this one long. So the one that we're short that we covered earned probably 3, and then this one is basically at scratch. Probably should have exited that one. I now don't like that position. Banks, we got short and basically scratched on the failure to fail. McDonald's, no trade, setting into a Z3 pinch. Merck, no trade. That shows a little more promise than McDonald's because of the gap down and the recovery. Microsoft, boy, we got into this one and NVIDIA just at the right time. So we were short that one and covered it, and it closed here, and today it gapped up to here. Sold off, and then gave us a 1, 2, 3 entry, so why not? And then this thing closed here, and that little gift is holding +3, and it is well clear and expecting some of that tomorrow, ready to go, high priority. Let's look at his running buddy NVIDIA while we're here. This was, holy smokes, I mean, that was yesterday's entry, and today's gap up. I don't know, +20. And then I couldn't take it any longer. I mean, the fact that it just kind of stayed here all day, and I said, how much more did I want from that? So we'll just take that gift and be ready to trade it normally tomorrow. Couldn't take the heat. PBW. So yesterday we tried the long, and today exited at the scratch. It fell a risk box, so about a half an hour in we entered. It sold off and then stabilized, and then it just took the routine exit here. That's about +1. Orderly move. Rivian, yesterday we started the caught a 2 on the PSAR flip. Today it followed through. It's up about 2, and getting ready to test that previous high. The S&P had a beautiful recovery off of that harsh winter. Winter bottoms out, turns to spring as it crosses. That is such the classic SSC right there. That that's what it looks like. I'm gonna actually take a snapshot of that because that deserves its own flashcard. Okay. Treasuries, we got short This morning on a collapsing dragon, took a 1 hour gift. Tesla, I just couldn't trade it today. And U.S. Steel initiated the COTA 2, and it closed pretty well for +1. So just an amazing day altogether. There's the Spirit Badger. There he is. And all his running buddies. You want those guys on your team. I'll tell you that. All right, so this is sniper trade of the day. This is symbol is AI. That's the software. That's the C3 software company that makes AI software. Here's where it closed. Gapped up, open to here. Continued that high. Sold off all the way down to here. That was the low. So that's your OR3 right there. Then it opened here, ran all the way up, came back down to here. Then the next bar sold off, and this is where it actually broke through. In the fourth bar is where it broke through the line. So there's our standard risk box, and you can see that we've got about a 2-to-1 to close the gap after, you could call that a morning hook. Notice how big that OR3 is compared to the size of the standard risk. That tells you just how much volatility is baked into the cake. Starts decaying, then a decisive decay all the way down to yesterday's close. So that's sort of the argument for the standard fade the gap scenario, that when it can't hold the OR3 levels, then the next play is this, and it gets almost to the penny. So we should really be managing, the edge of the dragon as the exit. I wouldn't be offended if you got out there. Got lucky and ended up getting out there anyway for about 3R. SSC, stop and reverse. Scratch, stop and reverse. Continuation of the downside. 1R gain, stop and reverse. Slowly grinding for 1R, and that was kind of the day. That was the day in the trade. So all told, this one gave us +2, scratch, +1, +1, so about net 4. And I like long-term this kind of COTA 2 formation, and it held the close pretty well. That feels like it could really go. And then with the AI buzz from NVIDIA today, that could really go places tomorrow. All right, let's go to the traders. All right, this is Eugene setting up the NVIDIA trade. So last night we recognized that it was doing this, and he set an automatic like a 2R sell-off, short 1, short 2, short 3, and cover for 3R with small loss in the third position, but the first two paid off nicely. And now he has noticed where the rest of the day is, and he's setting that yellow zone sort of as his breakout box. So this is a form of visual box trading where he's taking today's range and just treating that whole thing as one giant zero state. And then if there's a breakout to a new high, then it's a clear sign that more buyers are coming in, more buyers with new money. But if it fails, then that'll seem like an overreaction, and then that the traders are pushing the price down to try to chase off the weak hands and take advantage of folks that are buying blindly at the open. So good frame. Red was working just in the first hour. There was not enough of a movement to get that working. I don't trade the futures on cattle or soybeans, so I can't tell you if the opening session is the one that works. Soybeans finally got some movement here. So here was a COTA 2, so just before the PSAR, or just before the R10 breakout. So he tries that, gets a fractional gain, plays the PSAR flip, paid, short again, scratch, short again. He brings about 3.5 out, but he noticed that if he can get that all in one trade, he gets 6R instead of 3.5. And then if he does simple pyramiding with the 2R battle drill, he should be bringing in about 10 on that one. So that'll keep him busy. Thinking his way through that one. S&P for Damien on, this is 1 minute chart. So here was the gap up. He basically puts a MMRB on it. It breaks through that, so he's short, covers, waits for it to bottom out, finds support from the PSAR. RLXD gets paid for 0.8, waits for the double top, PSAR flip, short, and gets paid for 0.25. Gets a COTA 2 entry here for 0.75 and brings home 2.4 for the day. Right on target. Peter, he's got his skin in the game with $30 per trade. Brings home 8. Here's the there's the OR3. He gets short 1, short 2, short 3, and then cover. R10 rolls over, gets the RLXD, gets paid. Quick exit. It found support at the PSARs, or VWAP, excuse me, so you could actually get long here. He waits for everything to clear. That's unfortunate, move against you, but he keeps a piece. PSAR flips and gets paid. So that's 8R right by the numbers, just nicely done. That was on NVIDIA. And that was the same one that Eugene showed us on the opening chart too. And Peter offers this one for when he's trading on the really short time. He uses that LED light to establish boundaries in the household, and so that he doesn't get so he doesn't get interrupted when he's leaning that motorcycle over on the wet track, and reducing everybody's stress in the house. And no small wonder there. Let's see. All right, to dashboard number 1. Still bullish, quiet. Had that little bit of a recovery today. You got some possible continuation patterns in the euros and emerging markets. A little caution on the risky volatility, and we're going to see why. Even though the AI, NVIDIA, and Microsoft were up huge, we're going to see that predominantly it was a down day for most of the rest of the market, and that mind split makes it very problematic So in the Dow Tactical, you notice, we got Microsoft and Nvidia just Hulk smash, but the predominant signals were breakdowns. Disney and the Dow, Intel and Johnson and Johnson, Coca-Cola, Procter and Travelers, Verizon and Walmart. So the weakness far outweighs the strength, so don't get lured in. That was one of the reasons to not hold Nvidia overnight. Besides not being able to take the heat. In the ETF tactical, it's the Qs and S&P Tech, but otherwise, pain and suffering across a wide range of the ETFs. So that schizophrenia is a problem for tomorrow. Tons of things firing on the auto framer, plenty to choose from. Only 2 squeezes in American Express and Caterpillar. Notice the, in the regression line fractal framework, the overheated RS winners, Microsoft and Nvidia, are 7 and 10 ATRs above their fair value. Apple and Tesla, 5 and 7 above. So that shows you just how strong their moves were today. Quite a lot of Godzillas in the S&P 500, including some here that are enraged Godzillas. Alcoa and blended commodities in the tactical set, both quiet Godzillas. XPH, a raging Godzilla. This is metals and mining and that blended commodities. Some real big movers today, in excess of 5 standard deviations, combined with a really powerful 5-day moves. That's Oracle is very interesting to me, the quiet company. Notice that only a few of the symbols were above the zero line today. Most were down, including all of the indexes except for tech and the broad market. Nvidia just smashing things left and right. Tech, Microsoft, the FANGs, the Qs, Mexico, Ethereum, US Steel. So all the usual tech names, plus a few specials. But the bulk of the market down large. Intel getting smashed. Devon Energy off 3.5. Alcoa 1.6. The Russell off a full percent. So a tale of two markets today. And this is what I was referring to earlier, that while you did have a couple isolated cases of strength, the predominant news of the day was pain and suffering. Only the techs look any good today, and just a little bit of like Mexico and Japan. The S&P had a pretty good day. But man, that's a warning about the broader market is suffering. I want you to notice what happened. Nvidia was in the third position for ideal trading targets yesterday, but now it's all the way down at 24. And even though its daily volatility percentage is relatively high, like it's better than all these guys that are at 1 point something. It's just that today's volatility was so large that drives the standard deviation way high, which makes your frog quality number go way down, so it falls off. What that essentially says is that's not a routine easy trade tomorrow that has reliable large volatility and a reliable frog quality number. Now, Tesla, marijuana, clean energy, Intel, sure, all those are large percentages, but also reasonable consistency. This one, the consistency was so bad that it went to 2. And the daily percentage was not large enough to justify staying with it. That's everything I want to cover today. We'll get this published and posted and ready to get them tomorrow. Oh, here's what I just got to share with you. So you notice the that little badger background. That's sort of, I created a prompt for the Midjourney AI image producer, something like cyberpunk Badget Spurrier shaman warrior priest, prepared for tomorrow's existential battle against the forces of evil in a steampunk dystopian setting. So that's what it generated, that image. But when I dropped that into the GPT writer, it actually, instead of giving me more images, it actually created an ecosystem that filled in the details of a fictional world that that character would kind of live in. And then when you compare that to what's actually happening these days, it was eerie how powerful and good that was. So I'm going to share that vision of a future, the not too distant future, and why the characteristics of that warrior spirit badger might be a nice mindset to adopt to maintain your mental toughness in troubling times. All part of the spirit animal project. So that's everything I got for today. Take good care, guys. We shall see you tomorrow.